off screen, I went and I got to the next rank. So like now, because I was mostly filling out stuff in like the first area, I think the team has only gained like 1 or like 2 levels, so it shouldn't be...
In order to move on with the plot, you needed to grind, and instead of recording you grinding, you just said you would do it off camera, but you finally did it, and I'll get my own footage later, because that was the biggest problem with this game, is kind of forcing you into Pokédex completion.
Yeah, like, that's actually one of the things I'm not using it, but I evolved a weird air off a screen. After a certain point, Stantler will learn this one psychic move, use that psychic move 20 times in Agile style, and then it can evolve.
You need the rank to continue the plot, because I was almost out of footage, because you forgot to grind, because we had just stupid shit going on.
Also, because of how fucking tedious it is, I actively didn't want to grind.
Yeah. There's a good bit of the game lab. This Let's Play extended well into Scarlet and Violet, which we basically finished recording before this shit show.
Yeah, because Scarlet and Violet doesn't tell you now stop playing the game.
With a caveat that we both near the end had to grind a little bit because that game's experience is kind of whack.
But that's sort of a like different scenario. That's not like it's not like a technical literal like progression blocker like this.
This is a literal progression blocker. Get my footage on my own. I'll get my own footage later.
Because I have really grown to this, like a game where it's like the game basically tells you stop and go do this over here.
I talked about like stuff like that, and I'm just rambling because Sean always missed my point where Xenoblade Chronicles X is like, it's an open world game, and it's funny because it does kind of similar nonsense, and Sean always missed my point where...
A lot of open world games will do shit like that.
And I remember back in the day, Sean was like, why even get an open world game if you just want to do the story and not explore? It's like, the game encouraging you to explore and you hating it sounds like a you problem. It's like, because I shouldn't be forced into exploring the open world for what I will basically call fucking padding.
And then years later, because, it's a gotcha game trying to basically steal your pocket change. Apparently, Genshin Impact basically does exactly that. But, but that's a game where you can just pay your way out of the problem.
My, Mr. Mime! Well, intimidate. Oh, wait.
Okay, even if that worked, even if that worked, it's a special attacker.
You mean should be a special attacker?
One of them.
I was editing Pokemon footage, and the Nimona came at me with a grass starter, set up a bunch of Horn Claws, and clicked the Magical Leaf.
Puny. And there's the problem. Because the game gets 2 turns, because of course it fucking gets 2 fucking turns.
It used Agile style.
Come on, I just need... Good.
Except he gets turned. because this game has 0 switching initiative.
You mean because this game is bullshit and gives the game unfair advantages? Come on, be a dumb. Be a dumb. Yes, there's the big dumb.
We talked about this battle system being kind of god-awful, and this is sort of a more cynical example of that.
Why? Also, Iron Talon, it's Pikachu, so if it uses Iron Tail again, we resist that. Any electric moves we resist. Pikachu can't learn Grass now in this game, can it?
No.
Okay, yeah.
God, no.
This is fucking free right here, then.
Bye. This game has, like, no coverage. Like, 0 coverage. That might kind of...
That's the one good thing about the 0 coverage. If it had grass, now I might have been in trouble.
Because this was just a fun little distraction that, in my opinion, kind of received way too much praise.
I really do hate wording it this way, but I really do...
Ice baby.
I really do hate wording it this way, but I feel like this game actually did trick stupid people into thinking it was a good, because this game has fallen into what I will call the Skyward Sword syndrome, which is you people hated the game before this so much that you are going to suck it off for being not that when you don't realize its own problems.
Because it was seen as new and different, but the problem is they turned Pokemon into Final Fantasy X.
And we all know Final Fantasy X's battle system was fundamentally flawed. And it's not even just that it's a change for the sake of change. The change is actively worse. Like, literally actively worse. Except because stupid people think a Pokemon is too easy, now everyone likes the challenge, even though the challenge is the game literally cheating and literally having advantages over you.
Because it's been so damn long, I can say something that's really fucking funny, and it's just a beautiful example of...
I know it's the joke, but... Yeah. Bitch, how are you sweaty out here? You're the one basically on the icy mountain in, like, the tank top.
Just to say something, because it was really funny, because it's been so damn long, and I was hanging out with these people incredibly recently, and by recently, I mean just the other day, I found, like, a stream of a guy playing the remakes. And this was really funny, because this is a perfect example of, like, the way people can value something. And it was a guy who wanted to play the remakes. And he was really hyped about trying to finally play the Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, because he is a Pokemon fan. That he played Pokemon, like, years and years ago, way back in the day when Pokemon was, you know, just starting out. So, like, generations 1 and 2. And had sort of, like, not played Pokemon in, you know, over a decade. So then, and this is the funniest shit, because it's a good, like, a really good example of just how people can value things. He hadn't played Pokemon in years, and, you know, I stumbled into his streams and stuff,
I just need to find rain and I can evolve this fucker later. Or I could technically do it right now. Is there any way to check if it's currently raining in an area?
No.
God damn it.
Back to my point, because, like, really interesting if you haven't listened to this.
Yeah, because that's literally the last one that needs to evolve.
I just find this amusing. And by amusing, I'm not, like, making fun of this person. This is just interesting to see how people value things, because the wider fan base hates the remakes, but it was a guy who hadn't played Pokemon in years, and to him, the remakes were amazing because he was like, in his mind, it was Pokemon going back to sort of how he remembers Pokemon, and he's actually one of the people that doesn't like the more open games, where he doesn't really like Gen 9 because it's open, because he feels like he's such kind of a weird, and this is a very interesting opinion, he's such kind of a weird purist with his takes on what he values in Pokemon. He doesn't even like Pokemon walking around that are, like, you know, standing in the overworld, even if it's a more linear game, like, you know, Sword and Shield can be linear, but... Ooh, crunchy salt.
Gonna have a lot of that by the end of this recording.
Good old Sneasler. Basically, like, and this is so interesting because it really does show how people can value things. Of someone that even just seeing Pokemon walking around, he just doesn't like Pokemon walking around. He wants, like, you know, pure random encounters, and had this very purist take for Pokemon. So the remakes being so basic and more akin to an older Pokemon game, he valued the remakes over, like, Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, because he doesn't like Pokemon being open, because he feels that kind of goes too far from what Pokemon in his mind should be, and this is a man absolutely loving those remakes. Whereas
I don't like Pokemon being open because I feel open world design is fundamentally flawed, and I hate how it tricks stupid people with, like, the illusion of choice.
Regardless, I just find it amusing that...
Yeah.
And that proved... And if you're listening to this, you helped prove an argument, because you might not be aware that the wider fan base... You might not be aware of this, but the wider fan base absolutely hates those remakes because people wanted those remakes to sort of be like big, extravagant nonsense. So it was just funny to find a older Pokemon fan who's like, oh, these remakes are amazing because this is, like, in his mind, what he remembers Pokemon as. So he's ignoring the newer games in favor of the remakes, and he absolutely loves the remakes. Unlike a lot of the, you know, wider fan base. And the reason I'm very... Oh, hey, Blissey.
If I see a Blissey, I have to kill it. Coward! What the hell hit me?
The Heavy Paw?
Oh.
Heavy Paw's gonna come at you with Scrappy. But basically, to not repeat, it was just a guy super into sort of older Pokemon at a point where, to him, like, the newer games were bad, and he was actually enjoying the remakes.
Also, I just realized the fucking level difference. My god. They're like 20 levels higher. My fucking god, man. Why? Why is it that swole?
Why? Where do you have the Keyblade?
Why is the monkey that swole?
There's a Chansey over there.
Oh, we're just going to run again. I would also explain the game's ability to, like, just randomly run out of nowhere is... Yeah, level 61.
Chansey's guard is up. Even with the level difference, Chansey has, like, no physical defense. Yeah.
It feels good watching that. Oh, and they give you grit, and because it's a Chansey, that's how you level grind. Oh. Oh, game, you should not reward me for this behavior. You should not reward my Chansey hatred.
That's just how...
I know that's how Chansey works.
That's just what Chansey does. They've always been decently high experience.
Is that a Lickitung?
Yes.
No, is that Lickitung or Licky Licky?
It's Lickitung. It's not the...
Oh, yeah, I can see that now.
My point, to ramble for a minute, because it just amused me, and I was repeating that a few times, but like, it's just funny to see someone value the remakes for reasons that
Oh, damn it.
when you press up against the wall, you have a just Sneasler prompt. You don't have to call Sneasler manually if you press up against the wall long enough. There's actually a unique prompt for that. So you don't have to call it. I never manually call that. I always just pressed up against the wall. Anyway. Pokemon... Like, so many Pokemon fans hated the remakes, but I also enjoyed the remakes for what they were worth.
Remakes are better than this.
But it's just funny that I found, you know, a guy who values the remakes over, like, Scarlet and Violet and stuff. Even though what I said, and I stand by this, because this, I think, is good, even though I kind of hate open Pokemon games. I said Scarlet and Violet at least made a lot of positive competitive advancements.
Wow, I have a terrible fucking ice weakness. I didn't realize that up until this point.
Bonnie!
One, why are you level 19? And two, why does the Trash Cloak exist in this time period?
I don't see what your problem is.
It's literal fiberglass.
Much like your opinions.
Yeah, they're sturdy and they'll keep you warm at night. And I want you to edit on a screen the year fiberglass was invented. I feel like I asked this before when... Wait, was that the first Trash Cloak we saw, or have we seen...
We've seen Trash Cloaks.
Because I feel
no,
like...
you keep saying how is fiberglass in ancient Japan.
And I think I asked that same thing, I want you to edit the, like, year fiberglass was invented. Oh, damn it. Miss.
Oh, I missed.
Go do the plot in a minute. I just needed... Because I had to run around, like, catching and, because I had to run around, like, catching a bunch of shit, I, like, used a lot of materials making Pokeballs, so I was going around picking all this crap up. I was just wanted to wander around here, see, like, you know, all of what I could pick.
To find some Darumaka poop and keep yourself warm.
You make a joke, all that, but Darumaka even in this game?
No. No, it isn't.
Wah, wah.
But that poop thing was canon.
Yes.
They wrote that in the Pokédex. That people would take Darumaka poop and keep it in their pockets to keep themselves warm.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for the question of the day and my overall thoughts on the topic. So, anyway, how many of you also get annoyed when an open world game locks story progression behind needing to chart out and fill in an arbitrary percentage of the overall world map? The game I was talking about with Shine at the time, all those years ago, was Xenoblade Chronicles X, but that game does its own nonsense. So first, let me make a couple of general points. I feel like in an open world game, I should be able to choose how much of the map that I explore and engage with. And based on that logic, I feel like my own wants here fit into what everybody says open world games stand for anyway. People that defend open world games will always say that a good open world game gives the player a ton of freedom and agency. And I feel like, by that logic, I should have the freedom and agency to explore as much or as little of the map as I want to. And whenever I tell people that I wish open world games would essentially have an optional bit of linear progression just so that the player has a few ideas where to go, everybody looks at me like I'm crazy, even when I tell people. All I'm saying is the game should suggest a few areas to visit to basically get the player on track, but the suggestions can be ignored. And then the same people turned around and praised Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom for doing exactly that. I can use Tears of the Kingdom as an example because that game is recent, so it's on my mind. You essentially go to Lookout Landing, and after you do enough plot in Lookout Landing, the game basically points out that the 4 major areas are all suffering from some kind of weird anomaly, but then the game basically goes, oh, yeah, by the way, Link, we're kind of close to the Hebrew region, and the Hebrew region is where the Rito live, if you remember those guys. So, Link, you could totally walk to the Hebrew region right now and see what the Rito are up to, and most people end up going in that direction first. And in Breath of the Wild, the game basically did the same thing, except in that game, the direction the game pointed you at was towards the Zora's Domain, where the game was like, hey, we're basically really close to the Zora's Domain. You could go check on the Zoras and see what they're up to. And most people took this optional linear suggestion and did it anyway. Now, let me talk about Xenoblade Chronicles X. My problem with that game is quite easy to understand, even if Sean got confused when I talked about this years ago. So, in Xenoblade Chronicles X, the story missions are done in a linear order. This means exploring the map is technically optional. But in between doing the story missions, story progression becomes locked off until you fill in a certain percentage of the map. The way you fill in the map is fucking stupid. All over the game are these nodes that when you interact with the nodes, they scan the area that they are placed in, and after they scan the area, they fill in a small percentage of the map. But the game designers had the fucking audacity to basically lock the nodes behind arbitrary security clearance. So, if your security clearance is not high enough, you cannot activate the node, meaning you cannot fill in that chunk of the map, meaning you can't get your map percentage. And this means that Xenoblade Chronicles X is padded out with this arbitrary map bullshit. The story in that game is actually quite short, but in order to make the game longer and force you to explore this massive open world, they force you to go around and interact with those nodes. And on top of that, they force you to interact with nodes that basically have a security clearance you can activate, but you would never know what nodes you can and cannot activate if you were playing the game blind. So, if you played the game like I did, you would just explore, see a node, go over to it, and pray to God that the node you found was within your security clearance, because if it wasn't, you wasted 30 plus minutes of your time, or more realistically, a good hour or two exploring the map, looking for nodes, and then finding nodes, realizing you can't interact with those nodes, meaning you are absolutely wasting your time. And this is why I feel that game is bad, because they padded out a short game by wasting my time. And this is why I feel open world games should never do this. You should be able to engage with as much or as little of the map as you want. But anyway, I'm rambling. You can leave your thoughts, opinions, and answers in the comments, or you can leave them on social media. All of my social media links, as well as my Discord links, are in the video description. Now, as always, I need to be a shill for a minute. If you subscribe to the channel, and if you follow me on social media, that really helps our communities grow. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope I will see you all next time. So, as always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, everybody. I hope you come back someday. See you later.